Thank you for being here. And thank you for the people that are watching the recording of this. I put this workshop together because I felt like there are so many nuances to couples as like psychedelic assisted psychotherapy. So I'll get into what I mean by that in a second, but I kind of wanted to walk through a safe and effective way for couples to be able to kind of deal with, and as I say, and as you've heard me say before, the 1,000 little cuts that occur throughout the year or throughout your entire relationship. It kind of tends to create space and distance and maybe some pain that is really hard for couples to deal with as it compounds onto their relationship. Not to mention, most couples say that whenever stress occurs in their life, it's very easy to take it out on their loved ones. They're people that are closest to them because they know that hopefully they're not going anywhere or they're the only ones that they can be themselves with. But that really starts affecting relationships over time. So in the past 4 to 5 years, I've done a couple of facilitation trainings, and I just graduated from the Vita Institute for Love and Relationship therapy facilitation as well. So I kind of just wanted to meld the two together because whether or not you use psychedelics as a catalyst or you just do some really great connection practices, it can really help your relationship go either to the next level or heal tremendously so you can continue on with each other for much longer on a deeper level. So I'll continue to explain who I am and why you should maybe listen to me if you would like to. Like I said, I just finished the Vita certification for love, sex, and relationships, and I'm a psychedelic facilitator. So I've been trained in the proper ways, the safe ways, most effective ways to be able to walk through therapy to where you can get the most out of it. What is psychedelic psychotherapy for couples? So it can, I don't know how many people are watching this have any experience with psychedelics, but typically what I've been talking to people about is maybe in college or high school, they took a bunch of mushrooms while they were out at a concert or at a friend's house, and they weren't in the right set and setting. And so they ended up having potentially a pretty bad trip that scared them away from psychedelics, or they had an amazing trip. It was very euphoric and they really enjoyed themselves, but life continues on and you don't really see a place for it in your life as everything continues, which makes sense. But as people are starting to see, and with more scientific research, there is substantial benefits to psychedelic therapy for either yourself as a single person or as a couple. So I will continue on. I'm talking about on this specific one is just MDMA and psilocybin, either together or separate. Why I like psychedelic therapy for couples is it kind of breaks down some of the walls that have been created between the couples, which kind of makes it hard for them to connect. It also helps them become a little bit more empathetic to each other. So a lot of times couples will kind of just only see their version of life or only see their version of pain. And it's really a great way for the walls to come down and for you to see your couple's or your partner's side of things. So another great way is bonding occurs in a huge way. So whether or not you have a trip that is intense and one of your partners might be having an intense reaction, you being there for them typically creates a really, really strong bond. Or just you going on that journey with your partner really helps you to feel like your partners again, like you did from the very beginning. You're also much more open to suggestibility. So if you have kind of been hurt in the past or kind of gotten away from being in service to your partner can open up and explain to you what they would like to see, and you can be much more open to the potential of what could come from giving them what they want. And those are the main reasons why I suggest couples do trips together. So now I'm going to continue on to explaining MDMA and psilocybin. So a lot of times, if you look it up, it's typically called a hippie flip, but the two of them I really enjoy together. My partner and I actually do this once a year on our anniversary to reconnect. MDMA is very heart-opening and euphoric and full of ecstasy. So that's a really wonderful way to kind of be on another level of happiness and openness, whereas magic mushrooms really just help deepen a connection. So it's almost like MDMA will open you and the psilocybin will reconnect you in a beautiful way. And once your neural pathways see the connection between ecstasy and connection, it really helps to kind of change that going forward. So in the past, if it's been hard for y'all to connect, this kind of helps set the tone and show your brain how wonderful it can feel when you connect. So even when you're not on anything, it's much easier for you to connect with each other. I love the two together, but they're also great by themselves. Mushroom trips for couples, and I'll get to all the different types of mushroom trips that you can do with your partner. They're really wonderful for connecting and feeling good the next day. So I will have one caveat, is that I really suggest that when you do a hippie flip, that it's a majority of a magic mushroom and just a tiny bit of an MDA, because MDMA kind of dumps all of your serotonin that night. And so the next day, it's really hard for you to maybe feel as happy, because that needs to kind of almost recreate the serotonin in your brain for you to be able to feel like good and happy again. So you have to understand that the next day you might feel very drained. You could even feel a little bit sad. So just keeping that in mind, that taking 5-HTP might be a good idea, trying to make sure you take it early enough in the day to where you get some sleep. But if you don't want to deal with the kind of ramifications of MDMA, then magic mushrooms are a perfect opportunity for you guys to do things together as well. Important considerations that I would really like couples to think about before they go into a therapeutic facilitation with each other is setting, integration, and practices. So set and setting is extremely important. You're going to want to make sure that your kids are taken care of, that your pets are put away and taken care of and going to be okay. You don't really want to have to worry about anything. You don't want to have to worry about people bothering you. Maybe your phone could be put on silent in a way. You'll definitely want to set up a space depending on what type of trip you're doing, and I'll get to that in a minute as well. You want to make sure that your setting is completely prepared for you guys to have anywhere from 4 to 8 hour journey with each other. If you're going to have a nice evening in the hot tub, or if you're going to have a nice walk in the woods, or you're going to just sit around with each other and talking, you'll definitely want to make sure that you're comfortable and not have to worry about setting anything up while you're under the influence. Integration. So a lot will come up when you're having a psychedelic journey with your partner, and you'll want to make sure that you leave space in the future for integration. So what do I mean by that? I definitely suggest a personal habit. So maybe you as yourself journal and talk about maybe what was said in your session with each other, the feelings and emotions and thoughts that you're having after the fact. writing all of those down really helps you to get the most out of the experience that you had, and then coming together maybe a couple days later or a week later and talking about what happened, talking about how you felt after that experience with each other, and then seeing if both of you are reaping any benefits from that experience with each other. Saying it out loud really helps you see the benefit of that time and energy that you put into it, and it will allow for you to see the benefit in doing it again in the future, because sometimes life will get really busy and you'll get away from doing these practices with each other, and you'll kind of forget to set time and intention at least once or twice a year to really connect and bring down the walls again. The next thing is practices. Doing practices before, during, and after. And I'll get to what the practices are. That's why this is a workshop, because some of these practices really help you to connect. There's been a lot coming up in some of my calls where people are kind of feeling a little bit clueless, like, well, what do I even do with my partner? Or how do we actually make this more of a therapeutic trip than a fun trip? So we'll get to that in just a second. So is everything seeming clear so far, or I'll leave time open for questions in the end, but I just wanted to make sure I'm not blabbing on without some clarity. All good? Okay, cool. Okay, so now let's get to the preparation. I really, really, really suggest the tea method. And what is the tea method? There are different ways of doing it. There's one called the lemon teak method, and one is just a normal tea method. So the lemon teak method is a wonderful way to turn the psilocybin into psilocin. So it's essentially putting lemon juice on the mushroom, the ground up mushroom, in a tea strainer. And that will kind of transform the mushroom into the psychoactive drug, so your stomach doesn't have to do it for you. What that does is it really helps you kind of like shotgun it into your system much faster. You absorb the psilocin in right away. There is a method, and I'll share this in the PDF that you're going to get from this, but there is too long. You don't want to leave it in the acid for too long. There is a sweet spot for how long you should do it. So essentially what you do is you put the mushroom in the lemon juice, you let that transform for about 10 to 15 minutes, and then you would put hot water and some sort of tea, if you would like, in the mixture, and you would allow that to sit for another 10 to 15 minutes. So what that does is it ensures that the fruiting body is not in your stomach. There are definitely good doses that you can just like pop a mushroom in your mouth. But if you're going to be doing over a gram, you'll definitely want to try the tea method, because it ensures that you don't have an upset stomach, and it makes sure that both of you get hit at the same time. So for instance, if one of you has a slower digestive system or metabolism, then you might not be like at the point of ecstasy at the same time. And so that kind of ensures that you guys are able to drink the tea or the lemon teak and really start feeling the effects at the same time, to where you can go on to your experience with each other. I like to say, going on to the space creation, is creating a couple bubble. And you'll also be getting a PDF that explains how to create a safe couple bubble, where a lot of times in life, you might not feel safe telling your partner what you really want, or telling your partner something that they do that you would rather them not do, or clearing the air on some of the things that they might have done to hurt you, or, I mean, a million different reasons. Creating an intentional space that you both agree is a safe place for you to experience or to share or to let loose really allows for you to connect in such a deep way, because all of those roadblocks and walls and brakes that you might be pumping can kind of go away, and you can feel safe in the space that y'all have created together. So I'll explain how to do that, but I'll tease it just a minute right here. It's essentially a sheet that helps you understand how safe or loved or seen and heard your couple or your partner actually feels. So you'll be asking your partner on a scale from 1 to 10, how loved do they feel? How loved do they want to feel? Or how important is feeling love to them? So you'll really understand the inner workings of your partner. It really helps you to know. You might assume, they might assume, or maybe you knew when they were 17 what they wanted, and you've just kind of been doing the same thing ever since. But now your partner is 37 and she might have completely different desires and wants and expectations of your relationship. So it really helps you to understand each other. And then over time, if you've actually written this stuff out, you can see the transformation that's occurring in your relationship. So maybe your first trip, you were all 2s and 3s and 4s. And then after some work with each other, you can see that now you're at 7s, 8s, and 9s on that scale. So it's a really beautiful way for you to see what you want, to see what your couple or your partner wants, and then to be able to see the transformation over time. Another thing to prepare with your couple or your partner is the type of therapy that you both want to do. I know that a lot of couples that I have been helping, they feel a little bit worried because one of them is assuming that it's a deep therapeutic trip that they might not feel comfortable with doing just yet, where the other couple is thinking that it's just going to be a light party mushroom. So it's really important for you to understand, are we doing a healing mushroom trip? Are we doing a connecting one? Are we trying to be intimate on this mushroom trip, or is this just fun? So really understanding what you're going to do is a really important way to make sure that everyone's on board. Practices. So I really love these 3 practices especially. You can do these before, during, and after, and I'll explain what they are. Eye gazing is really important. In the busyness of life, we sometimes forget to connect with each other eye to eye. It's very hard to see ourselves as humans and see each other as beings that need to be connected with. So eye gazing is a wonderful way. You can start with a minute, but sometimes you can go all the way to 20 minutes, and it can be very intense, but it's a wonderful way to connect with your partner. So doing it before you go on your trip, setting your intentions, or doing it while you're on a trip is also really wonderful. If you're trying to get in sync with your partner, so what's wonderful about the body is that it really takes cues from the environment around it. So you can go belly to belly and start breathing together. And what that does is it syncs your breath, it syncs your heart, and it syncs your minds. So that is a really amazing way to feel like you're one, to feel really comfortable with each other, and to feel each other as each other is feeling. So sometimes that allows for empathy. Sometimes that allows for connection. Sometimes that allows you to just get in a rhythm with each other. Another one is love offering. So at times throughout your trip, depending on how you're feeling, you offer a love offering to your partner. So for instance, if you basically ask your partner, what can I do for you right now? What would you enjoy right now? And doing little things for each other, whether it be scratching each other's back, or playing with each other's hair, or giving each other a foot rub, or telling each other something that you haven't really discussed before. You can basically ask your partner something that they would like, and then you deliver that for them. And what that does is that really helps you connect and feel seen, and gets you used to explaining your desires and see them being met right away. That really does a lot for your subconscious, for your relationship, and it's a lot of fun when you're open to it because you're tripping. So that kind of gets me to doses. What are the different doses and what can you expect from them? So a light dose is something like a microdose that you can do an activity with each other. So that might be anywhere from 0.05 to zero point 0.2 of a gram. And that is perhaps going on a walk with each other, going on a hike with each other, cooking with each other, having just fun, setting aside time to really spend some time with each other. That light microdose just helps you feel a little bit better, in a better mood, and helps you connect. A party dose would be good for a concert or a really fun night at home. It's really light. It's kind of just like a body high that you feel really euphoric and giggly with. It's kind of just like you sit around, you get extra touchy, you just like love the feeling. And that can be anywhere from 1 to 2 grams, depending on the strain. And we can talk about that in a second. But the next one is talk. So kind of like talk therapy. This you can expect it to be mostly emotional. So for instance, when my partner and I did this type of therapy with each other, we did talk a lot, but a lot of times we were kind of even experiencing our own trips, but we were kind of in spooning each other. And what's great about that is that your partner can feel you feel your emotions. So if you do need to release a lot of stress or fear or sadness, I know couples have been through a lot together, whether it's the stress of losing a job or a miscarriage or dealing with family members. You can really feel each other during this type of therapy. And you should expect that talking might be pretty hard. You're just going to be feeling each other, and it's going to be very emotional. Deep is I don't suggest this for people who haven't done all the other steps first. So doing light, party, and talk is definitely a good idea for people before they kind of jump into the deep end with each other. I suggest this every couple of years, doing a really big trip with each other, and really feeling and cancel clearing a lot of the muck that has been potentially building up in your relationship. It helps really lighten the load and experience some deep healing with each other. So I suggest maybe like a penis envy or a true albino teacher for a deep trip. For a talk trip, I suggest things like true albino teacher or golden teacher or chitwan. For party, I definitely suggest a lighter mushroom that's easy for you to be social on, for you to feel a lot of a body high, a lot of euphoria. That I suggest things like Louisiana albino or blue moon or chitwan. Those are all wonderful. For light microdoses, I always suggest mixing golden teacher or a small amount of true albino teacher and chitwan, or any light mushroom that's easy for you to feel happy and light on. Like a lot to consider, but I just kind of wanted to give everybody a foundational idea of how you could experience different types of therapy with each other and the best ways to do it, to make sure that you have everything in thought and consideration with each other. A lot to consider, but I just kind of wanted to give everybody a foundational idea of how you could experience different types of therapy with each other and the best ways to do it, to make sure that you have everything in thought and consideration with each other. And we can end to one of two ways. I can show you how to do a practice for yourself to prepare yourself for a couple journey or experience, or I could open up for questions. What would you rather? Oops, wait, I'm sorry. I think I have you muted. Okay.
Well, I don't think I have any questions because you went through. It was really good.
Okay, awesome. Okay, well, so then what I'm going to do, if you would like to, it's totally fine if you have to leave because I know you thought it was going to be an hour, but I can walk you through that practice if you would like.
Yes, please, if you've time, that'd be great.
Yeah, I do. Okay, cool. So let me explain the practice first, and then I'll walk you through it if you feel safe to do so. There's a beautiful way to prepare yourself for your partner journey, and your partner can do the same. You can even do this together, but I really love preparing my mind and body and kind of releasing any blocks that might come up pre the trip. So for instance, what I mean by that is using a practice called the five sense reality. And what that is really understanding a version of your relationship that is not perfect, because no relationship is perfect, but the ultimate vision of the relationship that you yourself want. So what I mean by that is, what does all of that look like? What does it smell like? What does it taste like? What does it feel like? And when your brain really takes the time to understand that reality, it makes it easier for you to even understand that that is possible. It also gives you a vision to work towards. And when you do this practice, any blocks that come up in your body, you can ask yourself what that means, and you can understand what that block is. And then whenever you go into the trip, you can either work on that block with each other, or you can work on that block with yourself prior to the trip. So it'll make a lot more sense after I walk you through it. But what I would like you to do is close your eyes for me. And I'd like you to take 2 or 3 big breaths. So all the way down into your root chakra. And as you breathe, I'd like you to imagine your body or feel your body relaxing. So from the top of your head, your scalp, your ears, your jaw, your neck, your shoulders come down a little bit more. And once you feel like your body is completely relaxed, I would like you to envision a scenario, a place and time where your relationship feels perfect. So, is it an experience that you're having with your partner? Is it as easy as having breakfast on the porch with each other? What does it look like? What does it sound like? Do you hear birds around you? Do you hear music? Do you hear the sound of your partner's laughter? What does it smell like? Do you smell food or fresh fragrances? Do you smell your partner's scent? And what do you taste? Do you taste the air? Do you taste wine? Do you taste food? What are you experiencing in that moment? And once you have that full vision and feeling, Really breathe into that and understand what that looks like and feels like, and let that scenario kind of run in your head for a little bit. And then after a couple of seconds of you really experiencing that moment, I want you to scan your body. And I want you to see if there's any feelings that come up. Any feelings of, no, that wouldn't be possible, or I don't feel anything. It feels kind of dead. I have no sensation, or I have some pain in my heart when I think about that. And just understand what comes up for you. And when you do that, what you can do is ask that part of your body. So whether or not it was a pain in your heart, or your mind is instantly says that that's not possible, or even butterflies in your stomach, whatever that is, ask that part of your body why it's experiencing that. Is it fear of pain? Is it worry that you would be opening yourself up in front of your partner and you're not sure what would happen from that? Is it sadness because you have this belief in the fact that that's possible? And once your body starts giving you the answers, it really helps you to understand what blocks you might have to opening and reprogramming in order to get the right relationship that you want, the desires that you have met. Take a couple more minutes, breathe into that. Think about that block a little bit more. And when you feel safe, you can come back. And I'm not sure if anything came up for you. A lot of times, if it's hard for anything to come up for you, or you feel really dead, that is a sign of disconnection. Or if you did have a strong feeling, it's really good to think into that and to journal on it, or to have a conversation with your partner prior to going on a journey with each other, to make sure that that is something that is talked about beforehand. Or if you feel like they might not be open to discussing that block prior to the trip, you can plan to do it if you feel safe to do it at the trip, because they'll be much more open to that conversation. Kind of meet the mushroom and go on maybe a light version or a party version with each other, and kind of like not have to go through all of these therapeutic practices with each other, to just kind of, in a really casual, nonchalant way, just have fun with each other. And then once you've experienced that, then you can move on to something that's a little bit deeper. I will say that if something does come up on a light trip or a party trip, like a feeling of sadness where you want to be emotional with your partner, it's typically an indication that talk or deep would be good for you. So just feel into that. Don't be worried that, oh, I'm ruining our good time. You will feel so much better if you work through that with your partner while you guys are open to it. And then the lightness and the happiness that you will feel after the trip is definitely worth it. So I definitely suggest to you that you really allow yourself to just let happen whatever happens, because if you've set up your container correctly and you feel safe and you don't have any distractions, and you both have shown up with the intention of having a good time with each other or having a therapeutic moment with each other, then whatever happens is meant to happen, in my opinion. So yeah, is there anything that I can walk through one more time that you maybe felt like there was?
I was just going to ask you that, but I think you've just answered it. Like, even if your intentions are good and you're going to have you're both there, you're ready to have a good time, are there things that could come up that you are completely unaware of?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the biggest thing that I've been running into with people, is that they're hearing all of the wonderful benefits of microdosing, and they're hearing the wonderful benefits of therapeutic journeys with themselves or with others. But what isn't really understood is that the reason why you feel so good afterwards, and the reason why it is so profound and you have such an amazing time after the fact, is because it moved so much out of your body. Unfortunately, you are going to have to feel that movement out. It is one of the best ways to actually really release it. So for instance, if you're feeling emotional, like you start talking about something with your partner and you feel this urge to just cry a lot of times people aren't used to being really emotional in front of each other, because the busyness of life and the hardness of dealing with that with each other in a typical setting makes it to where you're not used to being emotional in front of each other. So that's another reason why connection happens, because for the first time, maybe your partner sees you cry really hard and they haven't in a while, or maybe they break down in front of you, and it helps you to see them as human with feelings. So yes, it is possible for things to come up that you haven't thought of in a long time. It's the way our brains work. We push it out of the way so we can get down the road, but when we push it down, it ends up manifesting in weird ways later. So yes, when it does come up, you will want to release that. You'll want to feel that. You'll want to either move your body, you'll want to purge in some way, which might mean shaking or shivering or crying. Those are great ways to move that energy out of you, and that's why you'll feel so light the next day. Do you have any questions? Oh yeah, go ahead.
I just have one more. You talked about the serotonin with MDMA. MDMA. Is there anything like that with mushrooms? Do you get like a depletion of serotonin afterwards, or
No. So it's
or dopamine or any kind of depletion of anything?
No, so that's a great question. It actually replicates those things. So it kind of comes into your body rather than asking your body to give at that time, like MDMA does. So you will feel tired. There is a potential for you to feel tired the next day, because it is a journey. Like your body is humming for a while. Like all of the cells in your body are on vibrating in a different frequency. If you do end up having a big emotional release with your partner, or you have a lot of fun and you just like laugh your asses off, you will feel very tired. It could take anywhere from a day or two to feel resourced. And that's why I suggest people really be careful with themselves the next day, really work on integration, because a lot of times you'll think that you won't forget what happened on the trip, but then the next day you kind of will. And it's really nice that as you remember things, you write it down and you experience things again. It really just helps like cement what happened in that experience for you to be able to reap the benefits of it. So yeah, like for instance, MDMA, there's definitely a protocol to follow after the fact to kind of help you with what happens physiologically in your body. But with mushrooms, it's more of just like a mentally, you might be tired, or you might have a little bit of a headache if your neural pathways are connecting in a new way. It kind of just felt like your brain was working out, and it might be sore the next day, kind of headache.